Welcome back to another episode of Get the Guac. So I'm really excited about today's guest. It's Julie Shaffer, and she is an independent travel advisor. Not only is she a travel advisor, but she's helped my family, and she's advised on our travel and set up a couple trips that went well. So without further ado, I'm really excited to have Julie here to talk to us about planning our next vacation. So here we are with Julie. Julie, thank you for coming into the podcast studio.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk travel.
Let's do it.
So, as I mentioned earlier in the intro, it's not just Disney, all-inclusive, Europe, cruises, and probably some other categories as well. What's your favorite trip to plan? What gets you excited? I'm sure all of them are exciting in their own ways, but what's, like, you're living your own dream or...
Yeah. So... Disney, obviously, because I think Disney is so fun, especially when it's that family that has young kids. It's their first trip. They kind of have no idea what to expect, and I get to walk them through the whole process and do, like a lot of guidance phone calls about this is how dining works, this is how lightning lanes work. And then when they get there and kind of talking to them through the trip of like they're having such an amazing time. They come home, it was so magical, and they can't wait to go back.
Right.
Because that's usually what happens. You don't go to Disney like one time.
Yeah, well, I'm learning that. We're about to be a two-timer. Yeah.
Right? You usually come back and you're like, oh, when's my next trip? So those are really fun for me. And also because that's how I got into Disney, and I love going to Disney. So that's where a lot of my expertise is. But it's also really fun. I've had a lot of Europe trips this year.
Really? And
those are really fun because you can personalize them so much to see like so many different things and so many different countries and destinations. And a lot of those have been like honeymoons, which is even more fun because it's like a lot of people used to just do like, Mexico. And so It's fun to do that and like be a part of that.
Be a little bit more adventurous with honeymoons.
Yeah.
So I probably got a little ahead of myself. Let's go backwards. Before you're a travel advisor, How did you get into the business? What brought you in?
I love planning Disney. That's where I started. We would go a lot. And if anyone's familiar with Disney, it does take a lot of planning, right? Back then, you had to do your dining 6 months before you arrived. It was crazy.
Right.
So I was planning my families. I was planning everyone in my families, but, besides my immediate family.
Right.
My friends. And I was kind of like, I should probably be making money doing this. I was like 6 months pregnant with my first. Mm-hmm. I'm also a physical therapist. So I was working in my PT clinic, knew I would go part-time after my first was born. And the opportunity presented myself actually a podcast I listened to. They were starting a travel agency.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I reached out to them and I onboarded with them when they launched their agency in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
How competitive is the travel? Is travel agent an accepted term?
Yeah. Travel agent, like a lot of people know travel agent. I prefer travel advisor. I think it sounds nicer, but people get confused sometimes with travel advisor.
Because like in our world, sometimes the older generation will say stockbroker. And that's where I'm selling you Microsoft at, 33 and 3/8 or whatever. But it's shifted. And people really want, the value is in the planning.
Yes.
Because anybody can go out and book a vacation and do it yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And in our world, no different. People can invest and do what they want. But one of the differences is I'm getting ahead of myself. So you joined with that agency around what time was that?
2018.
2018. All right. And then you start building up a client list, and I'm sure you have repeat folks.
You do. So I built my client list, and then the pandemic happened, and nobody traveled for 2 years.
That was my next question. Is
phenomenal.
What did that look like?
It was terrible. Everyone canceled. But the year or two after that, it was massive revenge travel. Everyone was going everywhere, and they wanted to do big trips, big multi-generational trips, the whole family, kind of like family reunion type trips.
Right.
So that was really a good time. And it kind of like has continued because a lot of people, I think, have that lasting like, I want to go to these big places that I wasn't sure I'd be able to go to.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Jane and I had that same experience. I'm more the extrovert, and I think a lot of people like that time at home. I was bouncing off the walls. It was not good for me, but it was fine, but not what I would prefer.
You wouldn't prefer being stuck at home. Okay.
No, and but yeah, once things started opening up, we were like, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, I think you kind of put things in perspective for people
Yes.
that don't take for granted anything.
Yeah.
And life is short. So
Right. And that's like continued still. Like even now, like I have found a lot of people are traveling much more frequently than what they did.
yeah. And funny enough, I know as a financial advisor, I think some people have I would say misconception that we're going to tell people don't spend money, don't do things. Now there are people that we do and we need to tell and they need to hear it. But surprisingly, most of the folks were like, go do these trips, because when people, and I think it's shifting with younger generations and older too, into experiences are valued more than material things.
Yeah, like gifts. Like I had so many people traveling over Christmas this past year and using those as gifts. I mean, my family did that. We were on a cruise over Christmas on Christmas Day. I've had a lot of people that they gave gifts at Christmas that were their spring break trips. It's just so much more enjoyable to create those experiences than to wake up to a bunch of gifts.
Right. Here's a bracelet. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
But you think back to the memories, right? Mm-hmm. And I think if we look back and we think of the most memorable experiences that we've had, they're probably on vacation.
Absolutely.
And I saw somewhere, I wish I could remember where, but it was recently, it was that a majority of children's memories come from vacations. I don't know if you saw something.
Did you post that? Did I see it from you?
Maybe I saw it from something I posted. But it's funny, and I'm happy you're here to talk about travel because it's one of those things that people, when they finally get some free time in retirement and they've saved up all this money, it's this push and pull where we've sacrificed to have this money, but now that they can spend it, all the sacrifice they made, it feels weird to switch all of a sudden and spend it.
It does.
Yeah, but if your financial advisor is telling you, go on that trip, or you know what, spring for the first class tickets.
Yes.
I remember a client of ours, we were telling them, go spend the money, go do the thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And not like you need to hear it from us, but I think some people do. It's like, okay, it's not going to screw things up, right?
Right. And a lot of times, so this isn't something I would say directly to a client, but it's something that we talk about a lot in the travel industry is, like you're never going to look back at your trip and be like, I spent X amount of money on that trip. You're not going to remember how much you spent on that trip 5 years down. I mean, maybe you will, but most people 5 years down the road.
Engineers probably would,
right.
But most people probably
You're
would
not thinking back to that trip and thinking, wow, that was so much money. You're looking back and thinking, wow, that was such an amazing experience. My kids had a great time. Yeah. I mean, it's so much more worth it. And like you mentioned, like that shift between younger generation, older generation of like who's traveling. And I find a lot of people in our generation are really starting to up travel because they don't want to, they see you're retiring so much later.
Right.
They want to be able to do stuff now and they want to take their kids now and, just kind of that whole switch.
It's funny. You mentioned not remembering the exact cost, but the first thought that went in my head, we took the kids down to Sanibel.
Yeah.
In Florida, and it was before the hurricane.
Oh, no.
And so, I mean, I feel bad for everybody that was affected, but it wasn't anything that we knew of when we went there. But anyway, so it wasn't an all-inclusive because it's in America. And are there any all-inclusives in America?
No, because you think of like minimum wage and things like that. The all-inclusives would be so expensive in America that they wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. So obviously we weren't in an all-inclusive. And I remember one of the kids wanted to get a strawberry daiquiri, like a virgin strawberry daiquiri. And we said, sure. And of course, if one gets it, the other two have to, whether they want it or not. So what happened was whoever got the first one sucked that thing down. So then they didn't eat their $15, kids cheeseburger. But then they wanted another one, so we did. So anyway, we bought 4 of these things. They did not drink the second of two, and the other two never even touched
course
them. They
not.
just wanted it. And I looked at the bill, and it was like $15 each.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? We're going to call Julie, and we're going to go to all-inclusive, and they can drink strawberry daiquiris, virgin strawberry daiquiris, until they throw up in the pool. And I don't care, because I'm not worried about it. I don't have to think about each additional cost.
It's such a legitimate example, though, because that's what kids want to do on vacation. And you're not the first person to, use that example of, these frozen drinks for these kids that want them. Yeah. And you don't have to pay for them.
And I want to not, as the more financially minded person of the family, I don't want to have those thoughts. No. And we can afford for them to have a strawberry daiquiri with their lunch or whatever, but it just pains me to see it wasted. You know, I don't lighting $15 on fire and just letting it go. But anyway, I might be a little bit more of on an island with that one.
I think there's a group of you on that island.
Yeah, it's a scary island. So let's talk about Disney, because I'm sure you do a lot of Disney trips. What would you say the makeup is for people and their interest and what you help folks with? It's like half Disney, and
I say probably 50% Disney, 50% everything else. But when I started, it was 90% Disney. It's shifted a lot. And one thing I really love is I help that family go to Disney when their kids are little, and then we kind of do that customer journey where their next trip might be an all-inclusive, and then a couple years later they're doing a cruise, a couple years later they're doing Europe. So that's what I really love, is seeing those kids and their family grow and being a small part of those memories.
And
that
you see
whole
the
time.
pictures on Facebook, probably. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's got to make you feel good.
It's so good. Well, and they usually
unless
reach
they're all
out to
sitting
me.
there and they're, hotels flooded, and they're like, no. But
I have not had that happen.
No.
But I do love hearing their feedback afterwards. And I mean, it's just so funny that people come back and then they want to go back right away.
Right.
I mean, same.
So I know a little bit about Disney because we went once with your help last year or 2 years ago.
You're going again soon.
Yeah, the kids don't know, but they don't watch this podcast, so it's fine.
It's going to be so much better.
I think so. And so for somebody that has a young family and they haven't done Disney, what are some of the things that they might not know to think about, but they should be?
Oh, gosh.
There's a million, I'm sure.
There's a million. Okay, so the first thing I want to preface is everyone's like, I can't go to Disney. It's too expensive.
Right.
That is the number one thing I hear from young families. They'll be like, no, we're going to go to an all-inclusive instead because it will be cheaper. But at the end of the day, it's really not. The great thing about Disney is there's different levels of resorts, right? Last time you guys stayed at a value level resort. This time you're not staying at a value level resort. So you can truly find something that fits everybody. You can customize how many park days you want to do, customize if you want a dining plan. So just prefacing with anywhere you go, go to Ocean City, you're going to spend the same amount of money that you spent at Disney World.
Right.
It's just that you're seeing that price up front instead of on your credit card after your Ocean City trip.
It's easier to forget the Ocean City lunch and the dinner and the go-karts because it's little
it's little ones. Cuts. Yes, exactly. And the second big thing is going with kids can feel super overwhelming, especially when they're little and it's their first trip and there's so much to do in the parks. So just knowing you're not going to do everything. That's impossible to do everything in Disney on one trip. And if that's your goal, it's not going to be a fun trip. So just focusing more on going a little bit slower, doing what your family actually wants to do and not the checklist of all the rides.
Right.
And I tell clients a lot, your kid isn't going to know if they don't get on that ride because they don't know about that ride.
Right.
They only know if you tell them.
Yes.
So if you don't make a big deal about it, they're having a great time, just slow down a little. And that's really where I come in. When my clients go to Disney, a month before they travel, they get a full packet of how to tour the park. Right. They get a breakdown of when to leave their resort, where they're going first at the park, where they're going second, what their lightning lanes are going to be, what their dining is, where they should go for lunch. So that's why you work with a travel advisor, so it's easy.
I didn't know anything about Disney, and I plan, whatever travel stuff we do, I'm usually leading the charge and planning, and I like logistics and all that, but But I don't know anything about Disney, and Jane was very excited, reliving her youth with the kids. So, have at it. I was surprised how easy that app was to use. And
it is.
Showing you where it's 5 minutes here, but Jane kept setting these, we have a ride reservation.
Yes.
What's the pass called now?
Well, now it's called Lightning Lanes. It was probably Genie Plus when you went, and before that it was Fast Pass Plus.
Okay.
Because why not? Just keep changing it.
Right. Well, it's job security. Maybe.
That's true. That's true.
Whatever the version was, it was like, if we leave now, we have 10 minutes to get there. And I'm looking at this map and I'm thinking, we've walked around this place a while already. That's on the other side of the park. And I had 3 kids and a double stroller with all the stuff. It was like 200 pounds.
I know. So like those training videos, you're always like, time to start training for your Disney trip. And it's like the dad on the treadmill with like 4 backpacks. And...
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was a rented mule.
Yeah.
With a wallet. That was
absolutely.
And Jane did exactly, not to pick on her, we did get to do a lot of stuff and we always had purpose. But we went into it and I said, look, Disney's not going anywhere. Yes. Let's not kill ourselves. The kids are at a certain pace. Whatever. But the excitement once we got there was like, here.
It's hard.
So we did exactly what I hoped that we didn't do, and that was we got burnt out.
Well, next time you won't get burnt out. Because you'll also know a little about, like, we kind of have an idea where things are. So, like, it's not reasonable to go to that ride from here. And that's something I do a lot with clients is I'm like, okay, you're going to go to this area and do this, this, and this. And they're like, but I want to go here. And I'm like, right, we'll get there. But it doesn't make sense to go from there to there. You're running across the park.
Right. So let's say a young family of 4. I'm going to ask you a tough question because there is no perfect age. But, like, I know a lot of people will say, well, I want to wait until the kids can remember it. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, gosh, I hate that saying.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating to me because I equate it to 2 things. Like, number 1, you'll remember it. My kids have all gone as early as I've wanted to go. We go to Disney multiple times a year. They've all gone before they turned 1 and many times since then.
Right.
We're a little unique case because we just like to go a lot. But if clients are telling me, like, I want to wait till my kids remember, I'm like, the biggest thing with Disney is there's stuff for your kids to do and to entertain them. So sure, take them to an all-inclusive and maybe you think that's going to go better, but then you are stuck entertaining them the whole time while they're throwing sand and eating sand.
Yes,
whereas at Disney, they're watching characters and meeting characters and, being involved in things that they want to be involved with. It's just more worth it to go somewhere they want to go. And, like, that saying you see around sometimes, like, are you not going to read your kid a book because they're not going to remember it? No, travel will influence and shape who they are regardless of their age.
Yeah. And it is so funny with the travel, like traveling with younger kids, there's definitely a hassle factor to it.
It is not easy.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No.
But the funny thing is when you get back from your trip and all that agitation fades, you end up not being frustrated, but you laugh at the funny thing. Like, we went to Hollywood Studios in Disney, and at one of those afternoon rain showers, it was pouring and pouring. I'm like, let's get out of here. Jane's like, no, we're going. There's no lines anymore. I'm like, well, there's no lines because the rides aren't working, and nobody wants to be in a torrential downpour. But I don't think she heard that, so we kept going. And
does Jane listen to the podcast?
Probably not. We'll find out. I'll know. But, and we were all, in the plastic bags, and we're like soaked. And, man, we remember that stands out so much, and we just had so much fun with that.
Yeah.
We just accepted it, and it's funny, that was, at the time, I'm like, this is crazy. But afterwards,
so miserable.
I'm like, that was one of the memories that sticks out.
Yeah.
And
the kids will also remember that for like it'll be like a core memory for them. Like, my parents took me to Disney this one time and it was such a bad rainstorm, and it'll be really cool to like think about that when they're older. Yeah, we ended up in the sci-fi theater where you have the old cars, and it ended up being a pretty fun night. But I'm with you on the, people don't want to spend a lot of money on travel because the kids won't remember it.
And I'm with you where I'm doing it for me and my memories. And if the
Yes.
kids remember it, great. There's going to be pictures of it.
Yeah.
But I want to have memories with my family doing a different experience or
at
something
all
else.
stages.
You
And
know.
like, I also always see the saying that's like, I'd still rather be parenting in Disney than parenting at home. Like, I'm still going to be parenting either way.
And that is true. When we did the all-inclusive thing, all hands on deck.
Yeah, right.
And I'm sure the place, like the kids' camps and stuff like that, are fine, but we never got super comfortable.
Yeah, my kids don't love kids clubs. They're like, we want to hang out with you.
Yeah, and you're like, really? We're not that cool?
I know. I feel that. Yeah. Mm.
So, but Disney, yeah, they're constantly entertained.
Yeah.
Like, there's no I'm bored. I mean, you might hear that because kids are just programmed to say that, but there really isn't much of it, if any. And they shouldn't be because there's plenty of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's...
And then everybody sleeps. You know, you
Yes.
walk your 15,000 steps, and then that head hits the pillow and you're asleep before it does.
Right. And sometimes clients will be like, oh, but like we need a separate room because the kids go to bed early. I'm like, you're going to be going to bed also at the same time because you're going to be just as tired. And everyone's going to be up early. So, yeah, it's just so much. It's hard to explain that, like, there's going to be so much more for them to do, and that is worth it.
Right. So what would be a decent itinerary for a family of four that's never done Disney before? They don't have a bunch of money. They're not staying at, like, the Ritz of Disney or whatever. The Polynesian.
The Grand Floridian.
Or the Floridian. I always hear that's when your grandparents take the kids.
It is, like, when the grandparents take the kids, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always vote for the Polynesian, but yeah.
So how would a family of four that doesn't really know anything, besides giving you a call first, like what would be a good setup to, like, this is a Disney, you can say you did it, and if you like it, you can always come back and do more of it?
Like what their itinerary should look like. So they should go for a week.
Okay.
6 days minimum so that they can get a resort day because going to the park every day is not fun.
So that's tip number one. Don't try to go to the park every day for a week long trip. Okay.
Absolutely. I say go to all 4 parks, but I have a lot of clients this year that it's their first time and we're just doing 3 park days. And, you know, everyone knows their kids best, so they know what their interests are. And that's kind of, we work together to see, like, which park you're going to eliminate sort of thing.
Right.
If it's their first time and they're not on, you know, a huge budget and they know that going in, I'm probably going to offer them a value resort and a moderate resort and then explain, you know, when you upgrade to a moderate, you're going to get more convenient transportation, more dining options, better options at the pool. So it's really up to, you know, do you want to spend more money on the resort or do you want to spend more money on the other experiences you're going to have? Like, for example, getting a dining plan instead of the nicer resort kind of thing. But there's always a back and forth and a conversation of what resort is going to work best for you guys. Do your kids love the pool? Let's make sure we have a really great pool. So they're going to go to, hopefully, all 4 parks, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and then they're going to have a pool day.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great.
I was promised a pool day last time.
You didn't get it.
I didn't get it. It's 30 minutes.
But the kids usually, that's what they remember, the pool.
Yeah. Well, not ours. I mean, I remember that I didn't get a pool day, but not for the right reasons.
I feel like you're just really burning that trip.
I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought, and I will tell you, as like I didn't grow up going to Disney. I think maybe we were there for a couple of hours, like before a cruise or something.
It's
when
overwhelming.
I was like 5 or 6.
It's a lot.
I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they wasted
don't
money on
remember
me.
it.
So, there was a picture, I think, in front of the castle. So I went into it not knowing anything, and I will say Disney has a certain level of, I don't know what the right word is, but they just do it right. Like quality, that's the word.
It's the magic.
Yeah, everything's clean, everything. You're in a swamp in Florida. I did not have one bug bite.
Yeah.
I don't know what crazy chemicals they're
know.
spraying all over the place, but they work, so I don't question
It's amazing.
And then I got it, and I'll tell you, one of my dear friends that was a financial advisor loves Disney, And me, before going, I'm like, what are you doing? You know, Disney adults have a little bit of a stigma.
Hey now.
Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that other people might say that.
They do actually.
But I get the Disney thing because there were a few times where I'm like, you know, the Epcot, eating and grabbing a drink around a couple of different places, like that would be great if I didn't have a 3-year-old like tugging at
Absolutely.
my...
Yeah.
So, no, I get it. And he said to me something that really stuck out. And he said, Joe, he said, it's the one place that when I go, I completely disconnect from whatever thing is going on, good, bad, whatever. Like, I'm present.
Yes.
And I don't worry about work. It's just, I'm living in the moment. Mm-hmm. And I said, if that's what you find at Disney, I mean, I could imagine much less reasons and it'd still be worth it, but that's a great one.
Because if you're on your phone, you're doing it for the My Disney Experience app, so you're worried about what dining you're going to or what ride you're going to. If you're at an all-inclusive, you're still on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is you're using. You're still like in tune with stuff that's going on in the world. At Disney, you're not. You're just like, oh, look, a ride.
Right.
And like there's a reason when you go to Disney, you see like all ages. Like I have a lot of clients that are grandparents.
Yeah.
And they love Disney.
Couple of clients of mine, just this past couple of weeks, we were talking about their trip.
Yeah.
And it was just the two of them. And they go with the kids. Yeah. And I get it. Just the operational structure and organization and get that thing running the way it is. It's just like amazing.
It is. A lot of the history books are really fun to read about like how that works.
So, all right. Let's switch gears from Disney.
Okay.
And let's talk about a type of trip you like to put together.
Sure. Europe.
You pick Europe.
Cruises, all-inclusive.
What's a good...
Pick one.
All right, so let's give an example. So we're grandparents, we're retiring, and we want to take our family to go do an experience together and celebrate retirement. Mm-hmm. We want to go to Europe.
Okay.
What's something to consider? Or what's a good? What are some things to think about when we're putting that trip together?
So the first thing with going to Europe and a multi-gen trip is considering the ages of the kids and what they can do or not do. So that might help you decide, are you going to do like a cruise around Europe or are you going to do a land trip on, in Europe, especially if you want to go to multiple countries and the kids are like, I would say like under 8. You might not want to be like packing up and moving on public transportation with this big group.
That's a good point.
Yes. So like a cruise around Europe might be more ideal at that point where it's like the floating hotel idea, right? Where you unpack once. Now, you don't get as much time in country. You get a day at a time. You're usually in port from, 7 or 8 a.m. until 6 p.m.-ish. So you may only get one excursion in each city, but it might be a lot more enjoyable for everyone. And then everybody comes back to the main dining room, has dinner, recounts their day. It also kind of gives everybody the opportunity to do different things. If everybody is in just Rome together for days at a time, there's only so much you can do in Rome for little kids. Like they're not going to really love that. But you come back to the cruise.
Right. Everybody another old building. Look at this statue.
Yeah. Like,
whatever.
You kind of have to really be strategic when you're planning with younger kids and Europe. Especially if it's a land trip, you have to make sure there's stuff they're going to be interested in, like maybe like a pizza making class or something like that. We need to make sure we're doing a very family-friendly itinerary, which may not always mesh well with what grandma, grandpa want to see on their one-time trip to Italy. So a lot of times if it's a big multi-gen, I'll say do a cruise because there's something for everyone. Then kids can come back. They can go to the kids club, which I hear you on the kids clubs.
I think Disney would have
But
no
on
problem.
a Disney Cruise Line kids club, like most kids, not mine, love it.
Right. Like probably retina scans and voice recognition and like palm readers. Like,
I mean, it's not that intense, but they do have really cool hand washing things. The kids just stick their hands in and it washes their hands for them.
Yeah.
My kids are scared of it, but most kids think it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's right or wrong. Like I would feel comfortable with Disney because they don't want some bad headline across their entire cruise line.
Absolutely not.
Right. But you get like a resort in a third world country. they don't have as much to lose as Disney, the conglomerate, I guess.
Right.
At least that's what was.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. And if you've never been on a Disney cruise and you go on a Disney cruise and you see that kids club, you're like, I kind of want to hang out here. Like, this turned me into Spider-Man. Sure.
Right. Then you see all the kids and you're like, I'm not hanging out here. I'm going to go up by the pool.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. But, Disney goes to Europe, Royal Caribbean goes to Europe, Celebrity Cruise Line goes to Europe. All the cruise lines do Europe, and they all have different itineraries. So you're going to find something that fits your family. And now, if you have teens, if kids are 10 and older, definitely a land trip, definitely multiple countries, some train rides. Like, I've had a lot of, like, Europe as a graduation trip or 60th birthday where they're taking everybody kind of thing.
Okay.
And those have been really fun. And we've done, we do Italy maybe for parents and grandparents to see the history, and then they go over to Switzerland and they do all the adventure stuff for the kids.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about using a travel advisor versus the DIY, I'll plan my own trip.
Yeah.
I think one of the probably misconceptions is I'm going to save a lot of money if I just do it myself.
You might. That might also impact your experience.
Right. Mm-hmm. You get a good deal. Mm-hmm. I think we've all done that where we've gotten a good deal and we ended up, you pay twice basically because it didn't work out. I don't know if maybe you wouldn't pay twice with a travel experience, but you only get so many of those.
You have other headaches. If you have an issue and you need to call and like work that out, like that's you sitting on the phone with your time, or it happens that people book flights into the wrong places and no one's coming behind them to check them. They don't know that they need travel protection and something happens and they lose all their money on the trip, or those kind of things. Right. You end up wasting time, going back to like Disney or Universal, something like that. You go into that trip not knowing anything and no one tells you where to go, or that you needed a dining reservation or you needed a lightning lane to skip the line. Like, you're wasting all your time.
It'll help avoid all the oops while you're there and you just want to relax and enjoy yourself.
Yes. And also, like, leading up to that trip, you don't really do anything. I basically reach out to you and say, hey, it's time to book X, Y, and Z. Like, these are your options. And you say yes or no.
Right. Easy
and
button.
That's it.
So cost-wise, what does it cost to work with a travel advisor or travel agent?
It depends on the advisor. Currently, I don't charge any fees. There are some advisors that charge planning fees, cancellation fees, modification fees. I don't currently charge them. Okay. And that's, just everyone's individual, preference. So that's a big misconception. Everyone thinks it costs money to work with an advisor, and it doesn't. I mean,
so if I contact Julie Shaffer to help me with my plan, do I write you a check for what it costs to work with you?
You don't pay me anything.
So what does that work? How does that work?
I get paid by the supplier wherever you're traveling.
Okay.
So if you're traveling to Disney, Disney pays me. If you're traveling to an all-inclusive, their parent company pays me. And also, whether you book with a travel advisor or not, that price is the same. If you go to an all-inclusive and you don't book through a travel advisor, the price is likely the same, and that company is keeping the commission.
Right.
It's the same
They bake
price.
it into the price. You either have somebody that can advocate for you or not.
Or nobody.
And it's the same price. I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and that's something a lot of people don't realize. Is like, well, you're already paying for the commission.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's funny, sometimes in our financial advisor world, people come in, they're like, I just don't want to work forever, but I don't know what retirement looks like. Like, I know I don't want to do this forever, but I don't know what that looks like. Help bridge that gap. Do you have folks that come to you and they're like, I want to do Spain or whatever, but I don't really know exactly what's there, what I should be doing? Like, how do you help those folks?
Yes, that happens all the time where people want to go to a country. Maybe they saw a show about it. Maybe they know someone who went and they just have no idea what to do with it. So my process is typically we have a phone call. We talk about things that you like to do around here, maybe what some of your last vacations looked like, and if you enjoyed them, what you liked or didn't like about them. And then I send you some sample itineraries from some of my preferred partners that say, this is not your itinerary, but these are a sample, and let's kind of go through, maybe pick out a couple excursions that you like from these or don't like, And then I'm going to come back to you, next week with a custom plan. The best part is a lot of the suppliers and preferred partners I work with, the plan can be completely customized. We can pull out whatever you want, add in whatever you want, private tours, shared tours, all sorts of changing your hotels. If you were to plan a trip like that on your own, you're just going to Google like hotels in Rome. Whereas I'm going to go to my preferred partner and say, okay, we have a trip for Rome. This is their, these are the things they'd like to do. These are the places they want to visit. Let's try to find one of your preferred hotels in that area. And they're just going to give me a lot of support so I can give you a lot of support and we can make the trip what you want. So, if you don't want to go, I have some people that are like, we don't want to go to the Vatican. And I'm like, okay, here's 10 other things we can do in Italy. What speaks to you about what you want to do? So the sample itineraries just really help get an idea of like what's there.
When is a good time to start planning for a future vacation?
A year.
A
minimum. And if like once you want to go, like tell me that you want to go because then it's on my radar.
Yeah. Do you see a challenge with people committing a year out in the world of I buy something on Amazon, it shows up by the afternoon or I'm upset?
No, because I think people that would have that problem have been like burned in the past where like they want to go somewhere and it's not available. Or the prices are super high because of it's too soon. And usually when that happens, it's like they'll come to me and be like, we want to go to Italy. This is March. We want to go to Italy in July. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be really expensive because a lot of things are sold out or you can't get stuff on the days you want to get it. Let's start looking at next year instead.
Right.
So a lot of times that's what ends up happening is they think they want it right now, but it's just not. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. That's a big commitment. A year from now?
But then you have time to plan it, time to research what you really want to do, time to do a payment plan.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
And
how does that work? What's a payment plan look like for a cruise or whatever?
Yeah, so, I work with everybody individually on that, and I just say pick the 1st or the 15th, and that's when we make our payments. I send you a payment authorization, and like you say yes, and I pay it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
It makes it a lot easier for those big trips.
Yeah. How much are people doing payment plans versus just paying cash?
Nobody's paying cash.
Nobody's paying cash?
Or do you mean like at one time?
Yeah, like lump sum, like either swipe the credit card, I'll just pay it off, or I'll write a check. Or...
Most of my people just do it at final payment.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do like a couple small payments here and there, but I have very few clients that are on like a consistent, the 1st of every month, we're going to pay X amount.
Sure. Yeah.
Most of the time it's, hey, can we apply $500 today or something like that?
Right. Okay. Everybody's got to do what makes financial sense.
Oh, of course.
Does it make sense to go into debt? Like, don't put, well, this is me.
I agree.
Not the trap. Don't put it on your credit card and then pay it off over the next year.
Maybe it's a wish list trip, though, and this is the time to go.
Maybe. Talk with your advisor first. Travel or financial depends on the answer you probably want to get, right?
Think of those memories.
That's right. Priceless. So I've got a family of 5, right? 3 kids, and then the 2 of us, which makes travel a little bit more difficult.
It does.
What tips, and you have a family of 5.
I do.
So through experience or through your clients, like what advice would you give these 5?
A lot of times with 5, you really do have to plan further in advance because you want connecting rooms, and you're gonna need connecting rooms at a lot of resorts or on cruise lines, and those go the fastest. And I run into that so much where clients have a family of 5, you need connecting rooms on a cruise ship, and there's none left.
Right.
And that, that's an issue. A lot of cruise staterooms don't sleep more than 4.
Right.
Except for Disney. A lot of resorts don't sleep more than 4, and they don't budge on it. People will say, can I just squeeze one? It's like, no, occupancy rules, you're not allowed.
Right.
So the biggest thing with a big family is you have to plan earlier because you're so limited.
Yeah. All right, Julie. So we're winding down here, and I have a Disney-themed game.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Okay.
So we want you to blindly rank these iconic Disney snacks
Oh.
without knowing which one's coming next. So there's going to be
No.
5 of them. So I'm just going to say the name of one, and you got to try to place it 1 through 5, not knowing what's going to be the next several.
Are
You
these
ready?
like ones that I like the most, or ones that people in general like the most?
I would say more popular with
Okay,
the
got it.
general.
The general public.
And maybe give us your bonus, like one that people don't know about. But let's start with the game first.
Okay.
Dole Whip.
Oh, that's a 1.
All right.
Yeah. I mean,
Coming out hot with
Yeah.
number 1. All right. We did get one while we were there. Mickey Pretzel.
I think for the public, it's like a 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Churro.
3.
A 3. All right.
Oh.
Turkey leg.
Oh, 4. I would have put it 5 if I could.
Yeah. Popcorn.
2.
It's got to be 2.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the popcorn actually, for all things that Disney, they you pay more or whatever. Mm-hmm. The popcorn was a great deal.
The popcorn bucket.
Because the kids just want snacks. So I'm like, you can fill that popcorn bucket for what, $2, $3?
Yeah, once you buy it for like 15,
Yeah.
you can fill it throughout your trip.
I felt like that was one of the few deals to be
I was
had in
going to say,
Disney.
did you do the math? We ended up paying.
No comment. All right, so what did I not mention on the list, but that people should go check out when they go to Disney?
The cinnamon roll at Gaston's in Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
The spring rolls at the snack cart outside Adventureland in Magic Kingdom. The Jack Jack Num Num cookie over in Hollywood Studios. Yeah.
Is it egg rolls?
Yeah.
Near
The spring
Adventure?
rolls, yeah.
Oh, is that what
Yeah. See, you even knew about them.
Yeah, Jane was,
Jane had a list.
we were doing the whole, like, oh, people say these are
Yeah.
good. I'm like, all right.
My favorite is a Mickey pretzel, but I kind of get like booed on for that one.
Yeah.
That's why I said the general public would say a 5.
You know what paid me with Disney was buying one of the... Oh, actually, no. Here's a financial tip for Disney. So I knew this would be a pain point, that I want this, I want that. We gave the kids a set amount of cash.
Yeah.
And we said, this is it. Don't ask us for anything. If you want to blow it all on a bubble wand in Magic Kingdom, which Piper did.
It's worth it, though. Those bubble ones are worth it.
I'll tell you, watching her on that avenue or whatever it is.
Main Street. It's called Main Street.
On Main Street. See, obviously, I got to learn more. Main Street, bubble wand, in like a princess dress. I was like...
Core memory, right?
It was a core memory.
Those bubble ones are, they're pricey. They are worth it because it occupies them.
Yeah.
They're not talking to you for like 5 minutes.
It stopped screaming for just a couple seconds. It was nice. Mm-hmm. So, Julie, thank you so much for coming in here and spending time talking with me and sharing your knowledge about travel. How do people get in touch with you? Where can we find you and get in contact?
So 2 of the easiest ways are my website, which is magicaltravelmom.com, or finding me on Instagram, which is also magicaltravelmom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks again so much for coming in, and it's been fun.
This is fun.
All right.
I could
Well,
talk
thank you.
Disney all day.